Welcome to today's Explainer. I am so excited to dive into this one with you because today we're tackling a massive operational challenge, the kind of thing that literally keeps facility managers up at night. We're talking about industrial fire prevention and predictive maintenance. More specifically, we're going to unpack exactly why relying solely on manual thermal inspections, walking the floor with a handheld FLIR gun, actually leaves your facility incredibly vulnerable to unseen risks. So let's jump right in and look at the real difference between manual spot checks and continuous thermal monitoring. All right, let's start with what we'll call the 2 a.m. blind spot. To really wrap our heads around this, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a safety manager for a second. Now, your primary job isn't just keeping things running smoothly when the sun is up, the lights are on, and the floor is fully staffed. Nope, your biggest mandate is reducing risk when nobody is around. So ask yourself, if a critical bearing failed tonight at exactly 2 a.m., would you know? Just think about that. The facility is dead quiet, maybe a skeleton crew is way over on the other side of the plant, and a vital piece of machinery starts overheating. This is the absolute ultimate high-stakes scenario, because if your entire safety protocol relies on someone physically pointing a temperature gun at that specific bearing during the day shift, well, that 2 a.m. failure is completely invisible until it becomes a massive, catastrophic disaster. Which brings us right into our next section, the manual inspection illusion. Let's be real about daily manual temperature routes. We hear it all the time from facilities. Oh, we're covered. We already use FLIR. But 9 times out of 10, that just means one person walking a route, maybe once a shift, pointing a handheld temp gun and scribbling numbers on a clipboard. Now, it's definitely a proactive step, for sure, but it faces a huge, unavoidable hurdle, the modern reality of trying to do more with less. And look, missed inspections are rarely because of lazy workers. It's just a system built on natural human failure modes. Shifts get short-staffed. A worker gets interrupted because a production delay suddenly takes priority. On top of all that, the deeply experienced experts, the folks who literally know every motor quirk by heart, they're retiring. So you're asking whoever happens to be available to just grab a temp gun and walk a massive route. So, what happens when that shift is short-staffed and the route gets skipped? There's a quote from the source material that just completely hits the nail on the head. When that happens, you don't have monitoring, you have hope. Doesn't that just perfectly dismantle the illusion of safety? A system that fundamentally relies on human perfection, on every person being perfectly on time every single shift with zero interruptions, is honestly just a system waiting to fail. Okay, moving on to part 3, missing context and accountability. Beyond the labor shortage, there's a huge technical limitation to the handheld temp gun approach. It totally misses context. Think of it like the difference between a snapshot and a movie. On the left here, those handheld spot checks, those are snapshots. It's just an isolated number written in a logbook. No timestamp, no visual proof. But what's happening between those snapshots? An electrical fault can arc, or a stuck board can create a dangerous ember in mere seconds right between those daily checks. Now look at the right. Continuous monitoring. This is the movie. It's running 24/7, giving you dynamic baselines, time-stamped verification, and historical trending. You aren't just getting a frozen moment in time, you're finally seeing the whole story. And this little table brilliantly illustrates why that context matters so much. Let's say your technician writes down 140 degrees Fahrenheit for a bearing. Is that good? Bad? Well, if the machine is under full load, 140 degrees might mean it's perfectly healthy. But, and this is a big but, if it reads 140 degrees during startup when it should be totally cold, that exact same number means it is rapidly approaching failure. Temperature isn't just a static number on a page, it is a behavior. Without continuous measurement under consistent conditions, you simply cannot trend accuracy. And if you aren't trending, you're just reacting instead of predicting. And then we run into the elephant in the room, accountability. Seriously, ask yourself, how do you know if an inspection was actually missed? If a tech skips a check, intentionally or not, or just writes down normal because they were super rushed, who would ever know? Manual spot monitoring creates these massive accountability gaps because it's essentially a clipboard system built entirely on trust me. There's no visual log, no hard timestamp, just faith that the snapshot was actually taken. Let's shift gears and look at the fix in section 4, the continuous monitoring solution. So how do we build a much safer, more reliable facility? Enter systems like AVIAN's continuous thermal monitoring. Now, let me be clear. The goal here is absolutely not to replace your maintenance team. It's actually to act as a tireless 24/7 extension of them. Just look at this number, 25. An AVIAN camera doesn't just check a motor once a shift. It captures 25 measurements every single second, across every single pixel in its field of view. Just imagine the sheer volume of data compared to a once-a-day walkthrough. It is literally watching every motor, bearing, belt, roller, and duct simultaneously. And it never ever blinks. This gives your facility what we call the continuous advantage. Let's break down what this actually means on the floor. First off, automatic dynamic baselines. The system's algorithms actually learn what normal looks like for your specific equipment, adapting automatically to different loads and seasonal changes. Second, historical trending over time. You can actually see the slow, week-by-week degradation of a bearing that a daily spot check would completely miss. Third, time-stamped visual anomalies. No more of that trust me stuff. Every alert comes with verified thermal images. And finally, gapless coverage. Second shift, third shift, weekends, holidays, it's got you covered. It entirely solves those accountability and context problems because it simply never stops watching. Which brings us to a fantastic analogy in Section 5, extinguishers and smoke detectors. To really bring this concept home, especially for any non-technical stakeholders watching, the source material uses an analogy that I just love. Think of your facility's safety tools like the fire safety tools in your own house. You wouldn't rely on someone walking through your living room once a day to sniff for smoke, right? Of course not. On the left, handheld FLIR guns are your fire extinguishers. They are fantastic, absolutely crucial tools for targeted troubleshooting, verifying a suspected issue, and applying real human judgment. But on the right, continuous monitoring, that is your smoke detector. It's the system installed to watch 24 hours a day so it can catch the very start of the fire before the disaster ever happens. Spot monitoring is the extinguisher, continuous monitoring is the smoke detector. You absolutely need both. But let's be real, you can't use an extinguisher to detect a fire at 2 a.m. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this sounds great, but it sounds like a massive overhaul to install. Actually, scratch that. Transitioning to automated monitoring doesn't mean starting from square one. Step 1 is usually just keeping your existing routines right in place. Step 2 is running the continuous system right alongside your manual routes, so it can start building those dynamic baselines. And finally, Step 3 is where the magic really happens. Your short-staffed teams shift from spending hours mindlessly collecting data to simply reviewing the rich data the system has already gathered for them. The temp gun doesn't go away, it just stops being the only thing standing between you and a totally unplanned shutdown. I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today. If a dust duct ember sparked right in the middle of a super chaotic shift change, or a routine Tuesday manual inspection got missed because a worker got pulled away for an emergency, would you ever find out before the damage was done? If your answer is no, or even I don't know, then it might just be time to take a hard look at the gaps in your facility's defense. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep improving, and I will catch you on the next one.